Nah, I got something to prove and I ain't never gonna give up. Plenty of juice and I ain't never gonna waste it. Something to do and I ain't never wanna quit it. So come on, get a little bit, I know you wanna play with it.
Coming to you from Studio Iguana Monk down in the Big Dirty, it's the Twisted Pop Podcast, where we explore what it means to be a working artist living in the real world. Please welcome your hosts, Larry Lines and Troy Wingstop.
Your mom's rolling.
Or maybe it's just cobwebs.
I keep walking through cobwebs here, and then I walk through so many that I really hate it. It usually really freaks me out, but
No freak out. It's just I know that it's all over me. It's all over me.
It's all over me. Well, this is definitely an untamed forest back here. I mean, like this is certainly Houston overgrowth, backyard shed area.
Yeah, untamed.
Like wilderness. I really don't want to know what's up, in the ceiling.
Jungle, marsh, swampy. What is this? 14?
15. Twisted Pop Podcast, episode 15. Who are
Troy
you?
Winscott.
I'm Larry Lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's who we are.
I hate art. Art is stupid. Art is boring. A-R-T-T art. I hate art. Art is stupid. Art is boring. A-R-T-T art.
Got that clear.
So I had one, but I'm kind of bored with it. Do you have anything?
Well, I was going to see what you had, and then maybe like spring off of that.
Okay.
Well, what's your week like?
What's my week like?
Yeah. What was your weekend like?
The weekend. Well, my daughter went camping.
Oh yeah.
My son has been getting involved with his new friends at high school. But I went and saw Mother.
Oh.
With Iggy last night.
How was that?
It's like in my top 10.
Really?
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. And Iggy was like, "This is number 2." He's like, "That's the second best movie I've ever seen."
Huh?
Yeah. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's Aronofsky.
Yeah.
So it's not for everybody, right? For sure.
Right.
And I feel like he fucked with everybody until whatever. It really is a mind fuck. I mean, you whatever preconceptions you go into it with.
Well, I have none because I don't have anything.
Yeah, you don't look stuff up. You don't look up spoilers.
Yeah, I barely saw a trailer one time, and I was just like, I don't know what's going on in that trailer, so I don't care. And but then, of course, social media got involved.
And I haven't seen the trailer. I still haven't seen the trailer. I didn't get involved enough in people who were describing the story to actually know what was going to happen. Yeah. I saw a little bit, and I know better than to read anything or listen to anything coming out of Aronofsky's mouth because I think that he doesn't have a good idea of what he's actually created after he's created it. Okay, and then Iggy confirmed that after he got home. He was like, "That dude, I don't think he had any idea what that meant." And that was really where my topic was coming from anyway. It was like, you make a piece of art, or do you have any good examples of, even big art?
Well, I mean,
where
how much of it gets out of control?
Well,
I mean, it's beyond you,
Yeah.
What I mean?
Like, what is it? What does your piece mean to somebody else? And
musically, have you experienced this? It's just gone out.
Yes, absolutely.
Control
yeah, especially when I was writing for ensembles at Berkeley, that I didn't have it. I wasn't going to conduct, and I wasn't going to play in, and I wasn't there when the recording took place. So I would write these pieces, and then I would just show up and hand them off. Actually, this is a lot like that. This what we're doing right now, where I go, where we're saying, get involved in a production technique and really, hash it out, a process.
Yeah.
So I was writing, and then I would just go and hand it to the teacher that was going to conduct it with an ensemble. And then I would leave. And then they would give it to me. And then people would see me later and they would say stuff. And I would just be like, are you sure that you're talking about the piece that I wrote? Because one, I thought it was shit. Right? Like there's no, but that's like anytime, right? Like you write something like that. And it's very student oriented stuff with like, one was like for a guitar ensemble with 10 guitars. Where they're just kind of practicing reading together and shit like that. So they didn't have enough original material. I mean, who writes for 10 guitars?
Right.
So they would play anything that I gave them.
Right.
And I was just like, well, that's good practice for me, but it was still shit. Like, and I thought it was shit. I still have a lot of these things.
Yeah.
I bet it's shit. Like, I would still think it's shit.
Yeah.
But I would see people in the hallway.
You would still think it's shit?
I have no idea. I haven't looked at it in so long. It's in a trunk right over there somewhere. And they would see me and they would say stuff about it, and I would be like, you're talking about the wrong thing. One, that they liked it at all, but that wasn't the half of it. People were like, oh, I heard all these quotes, from other pieces of music, and some of them were right, like the Rite of Spring. I used to throw like pieces, little snippets of that shit into
nods of it,
and they would go, oh, I heard the Rite of Spring in there. And I would go, yeah, you heard the Rite of Spring. And then they would say something like, I also heard Kind of Blue and some Yes in there. And I was like, no, it's not.
No.
and then it was like, you were going for a fusion of these different styles. And I was like, no, I wasn't. And, maybe I was. Like, because, after listening to somebody who's got 25 years of experience making movies talk about their movie that's first and foremost an allegory, right? Then everything that Aronofsky does seems like an allegory. He's not going to mess with anything else. And then he just, I feel like after I heard what he intended, I was like, no, he was wrong. That's not what he got. It might have been what he thought he was doing.
Right.
But that's not what he got.
That's funny.
Yeah. And I think that even his interpretation of that has sort of confused people.
Huh.
Like his own words on his film that confused people that aren't normally into that kind of thing, but only saw it because Jennifer Lawrence was in it.
Yeah.
They were confused because it didn't make any sense. Like you go, oh, no. Now I really hate it because you said something and it doesn't actually resolve anything about what I just saw.
So, do I have to see it on the big screen?
You know what? Yeah.
What?
I'll tell you, the sound design is going to win an Oscar, and if it doesn't, they'll get robbed because there's most of the time they're following the character in the shot around the house, and there's other people in the house. And the sound design goes with the camera. So as the camera's swinging all the way around the characters, staying on them, you hear the voice from that same side of the camera, like all the time. And then the character would open a door, and you hear the door and the footsteps of the character, but stuff is starting to move, like outside of the field of view. Yeah, I would say there's more genius technically than there. Well, no, I can't say it because the storytelling is genius. I'm at least as far as being able to surprise that many people. I mean, it's 2017. We're all really
savvy,
sophisticated. Yeah, we're sophisticated story consumers now. And for me to walk in with the way that I feel about story and how predictable almost everything is, and to go, wow, like to at some shocking moments several times through, in a movie, or you just see something, you'll just start laughing because you're just like, I didn't see that coming at all.
Nice.
Yeah. So me and Iggy were both laughing several places in the movie because you're just like, holy shit. Yeah. Like, what is he doing? What is going on?
All right. I'll have to go check it out.
And it's the sound design. So it has to be, go over to the Edwards because they have a good 5.1 surround. Yeah. And it's that experience you'll never catch on a TV or on your computer.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I saw Atomic Blonde again.
Oh man.
This weekend, and I just absolutely love that movie. But the thing I'm most excited about is Discovery, Star Trek.
Oh man, that's tonight.
It's tonight, but I can't watch it like
I have the CBS
without
app.
Premiere or whatever. I guess All Access, whatever it is.
I have the CBS stuff, but I don't think that they'll
It
make
looks
it
really
on demand
cool.
until tomorrow.
It looks really, really cool.
I'm really excited about it, honestly.
I caught a couple of trailers today because I saw it advertised and hit some of the trailers, and it looked pretty cool.
So, what did you get out of seeing Atomic Blonde again? I mean,
I just absolutely love that movie.
Oh my god, the fight scenes, like you don't. A lot of the time, when they put women in fight scenes, you go, okay, well, like even some of the stuff that Michelle Yeoh and I just talked about Star Trek, like you would see her kick somebody in one of the, like Tai Chi Master or something like that, and you go, all right, it was a beautiful kick, but I don't think she laid that dude out with that.
Right. Totally right. That's but I absolutely love that movie, and I know that one of the complaints was that the story was hard to follow, like unravel. But once you've seen it, you know what's going on, and you can get really into like.
But you really believe her. Yeah. Like by the end of those fight scenes, you really believe that it's taken as much out of her.
Yeah, and everybody else in the room.
Yeah, and then she got lucky.
Yeah, totally.
that which is what happens in fights, and that's one of the factors I think. Anyway, and
her description is, you sent me into a fucking hornet's nest, and it's totally what it's like. It looks just like that, like a fucking hornet's nest that she has to deal with. It's really fucking cool. Yes, and that was the second time, and it just. I would own that movie. It's really cool.
Yeah, I would own that movie too. Mm-hmm. I could see watching it every year or two.
Yeah,
but now I'm getting to the point where there's enough stuff that I'm starting to think of as classic, like because it's getting so much cheaper to make, a really great movie. Like imagine some of these movies. In the 80s and the budgets that they would have to have and the buy-in that they would have to push them that far. And so when you're talking about this and you go, all right, well, we have some stars and we'll raise a couple $100,000 to pay all these people and we'll give a lot of people back end. We know it's going to go somewhere and that it's going to be a good movie, right? So you're I don't know how much they made Atomic Blonde for. I'm sure it was a lot because they have a lot of cars.
Yeah. Wrecking cars and
cordoning off streets and a lot of really amazing sound. They destroy
big
some
crowd
rooms.
Scenes, like the actual crowd scenes that are there, not CGI, and it was really cool. I dug it. Okay, so that was the week, the weekend. Yeah. Did you have a topic?
Well, that was it really. With the one, I don't know how to form it into a question, but if we're going into I hate art, we should just go into that, right? we'll let it drift there.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're in the I hate art part. But the only thing I was thinking about, and I keep thinking about throughout the weekend, is pieces of art that have been obviously interpreted, or they mean something different than the artist intended, or the artists. But I don't know where to go with that. And if you have a better topic, then that's great.
Like extending off the out of control part?
The out of control? Out of your control.
Is that what you're extending?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. But I can't really think of, very many. And then I think of the early writers like Fitzgerald, who used to, publish his short stories. And I don't know, was it the New York Magazine or something like that? I don't remember. But most of that stuff was allegory, and then people would have discussions about what it meant, and they didn't really know. And then he wouldn't tell them.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, I think Game of Thrones is out of Martin's control.
That's true too. But they've gone beyond his story.
Yeah. But I think that it was just beyond the scope of what he intended. Maybe, I don't know. if he'd like to come on the show and explain it, that'd be great.
I'll send him a tweet. He'll come.
But I heard that, like, you know, and I don't know if this is true or not, that like he wrote it so that it would never make it to film or TV.
He wrote the book so that it would never make it to
never
film.
Be interpreted on film or TV.
But it couldn't possibly have anticipated film and TV to change.
Not then, I don't think.
Yeah.
The level of CGI that has been used or...
Yeah, I mean, he must have started this in the 90s at the latest, right?
Yeah, but then I think of like Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, right? That was definitely out of his control. They had to the Pope had to go basically abscond him and make him finish because he wasn't going to finish it.
He was working on it by himself, right?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't know if he had a team that was working with him and he was mostly the director or if it was just his solo show.
That's funny. But, I'll find a link for that to put in the show notes. But,
from what I understood, he tried to escape the
project. Well, wasn't he... My understanding of it was that he was spending an awful lot of time at the top of the thing lying on his back.
Well, yeah, I think that's eventually what, you know, I mean, yes, of course he did, but eventually I think it was just too maddening for him and too big. And he just went, I can't do it. Or
I don't want to do it.
I'm going to skip out on this because I don't want to do it.
Pope says you gotta.
Totally. But I think the project that ended up being out of my control was the 10-story mural for the AT&T building in Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
at no point did you reveal that you felt like you were out of control.
No, I did one night. One night I did, and it was at the end. We had just finished painting everything, and it was the most levels that we had laid out, which I think might have been 8 or 9 panel levels. And I gridded the whole thing out, and so I was pretty sure that it was going to work. But when we were working on it, I just didn't know. I had no idea what was going to fail on it. And because I never done anything that big. But then, you know, we had 8 or 9 levels laid out on the ground, and I was up on an 8-foot ladder in the air as high as I could possibly go on that ladder, trying to see the last 8 levels and what it actually looked like. And they said I just stood up there for 45 minutes just going, I don't know. I don't know. And they just, you know, the crew just kept looking at me like, what do you mean you don't know? I don't know what this is going to look like. And I just kept saying it over and over for 45 minutes. But it was way beyond. And it turned out way better than I ever thought it would.
You know, actually, that's true for me too, because I didn't really, I didn't think it was going to turn out the way it did.
Yeah.
When the pictures and the drone footage came back. Yeah. And I was like, what the hell? That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it was certainly beyond anything that we were thinking of. I mean, it's sitting on a concrete floor, and it's it's hardy backer board.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way. I thought, I'm looking at it, and it just doesn't look like anything. It looks like camo on the floor.
Yeah.
People kept saying that, and I wanted to hit them. Right? You know what I mean? You go, it looks like camo.
Nazi U-boat camo is what it looked like on the floor. It was just nuts.
Yeah. But it really looks like a waterfall.
Well, yeah, it's very impressionistic, very
it works.
Abstract waterfall.
But that also has something to do with the team and a deadline.
Totally.
Because if I were talking about losing control of a project like that, the one that I would say was the record that I put out, because I wouldn't have finished it. I wouldn't have finished that record. It was Aaron Trum that finished it. He got it mastered.
Yeah.
And then he printed some CDs and he just sent them to me. And I think sometimes that needs to happen, which also makes Aaron Trum more impressive, honestly, because how many things that he's just gone, he just went, oh, well, this is all fucked up, but I'm going to put it out anyway.
Right.
And then he just does it.
Right.
So because you can, I mean, by the time I was done, I knew exactly where I had fucked up on everything. But once again, it's like a first project.
Yeah.
It's like the thing that we talk about with like production process with this. Like you learn on a podcast, and then it starts translating into movies. Like my post process was not even thought of when we started filming Chasm.
Yeah.
But now I have a really good idea of what post should be. Like, and that you really shouldn't, if you're going to be doing all of this yourself and you're going to be editing the thing yourself, then you're responsible for the dailies and cutting the junk together by the next morning before you start shooting again.
Right.
So if you're shooting for 12 to 15 hours in a day, then you can't do that.
Right.
So that's, if your post process involves you being the editor and you doing the dailies, then you can't shoot for like we were shooting.
Yeah, totally.
So you have to go, well, we're going to shoot for 6 hours, then I'm going to go home and cut together the dailies, and then I'm going to come back. And if you don't cut together the dailies, then you really have a lot more faith than the average professional movie maker has.
That's so crazy.
What, the shoot was crazy?
Yeah. That whole run was like just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it was insane. Like I some of it I'm thinking back, like I know I was the one getting up. Like I was the one getting up with the alarms, but by the time I got home I only had 1 or 2 hours before the alarm went off.
Yeah.
So what was I doing? Because I don't remember waking up.
Yeah.
I remember waking up in El Bolillo buying donuts and stuff like that and kolaches. Like just going, oh, I'm in El Bolillo. Right, and then bringing the kolaches down to the studio, but that was insane. Like now I know a lot more about what I would do. Like I would, even with our volunteer group, and the way that things were, I would assign people for different tasks.
Well, I can't wait to do it again.
Really?
Yeah.
I was
I'm
wondering
far
about
enough.
that.
I guess it's kind of like tattoos, right? You get far enough away from it that you forget what it's like, and then you're ready to do it again.
That's funny. And then you're like, oh shit, this hurts, but they already got a line on me.
Yeah, if I'm too close, I'm like, I'm not ready yet.
But, okay, even with the volunteer crew that we had, right, it would be so much easier if I was like, oh, you really want to help make this movie? Then on these days, you have to be there at 7 in the morning and make sure all the equipment is ready to go. Because I have too much shit to do. Right. There's no way that I can make sure all the equipment, or even you, can make sure all the equipment is ready to go. There has to be somebody who's a grip or in that role, right? And what's really interesting is a lot of the podcasts I'm listening to now with like some of the indie guys is that they're giving back end to people in roles like that.
Sure.
Which totally makes more sense because, like with a volunteer group like we have, they want to be there anyway.
Yeah.
But in the end, they're just like, well, if I can make it, I'll make it. But if you say, well, we're actually doing this. This is the examples we have. You've been here before, and you get 0.5%, right? Right. And then now somebody's responsible for your equipment.
Yeah.
But I don't know how any of this shit works. I'm just starting to get it together, and I'm listening to other people. Those people that I'm listening to have a hell of a lot more experience than we do.
Yeah.
But anyhow, at least I'm putting the pieces together in ways that make sense, or that make more sense than what we were doing before.
Right. That's funny.
And okay, there's a good example. We've lost complete control of Chasm.
Yeah.
Because we didn't understand all the steps in the movie making process.
Right.
That's a really good example.
Yeah, it totally is. It is a really good example.
Now it will come out in pieces, right? And over the next couple months, like that particular thing is going to come out in pieces, but it's not going to be cut together the way it was, originally intended. And now we're losing people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there are people that will never come back.
Yeah.
I may get Johnny Brown to do it again. If I go, hey man, I need to finish this thing, and he'll go, yeah, all right, because that's kind of how he rolls.
Yeah.
But we've lost other people that probably won't show up again to finish those roles.
Thank you for listening to the Twisted Pop Podcast. For show notes, go to twistedpop.com/podcast. Merchandise at bigmyth.com. That's big-myth.com. In association with nquit.com. Until next time, this is the Twisted Pop Podcast.